Imagine waking up every morning already exhausted before the day even begins. Not because of hard work, but because you're surrounded by negativity. Toxic coworkers, critical family members, manipulative friends, constant drama. Here's the strange part. Psychology shows that the people who stay the calmest in toxic environments aren't always the strongest. They simply know a few mental tricks that everyone else ignores. And one of these tricks is so powerful that it can completely change the way people affect your emotions. But don't skip ahead, because the last one might be the most life-changing of all. Most people believe peace comes from escaping toxic people. But what if you can't? What if it's your workplace, your home, or someone you see every day? The truth is, you don't always control your environment, but you can control the way your mind responds to it. That's exactly where psychology becomes your greatest advantage. The first trick sounds almost too simple, yet it's backed by decades of behavioral research. The first trick is called emotional distancing. This doesn't mean becoming cold or heartless. It means refusing to let someone else's emotional storm become your own. Toxic people often want a reaction because your reaction gives them power. The moment you stop treating every insult, complaint, or criticism like a personal attack, something unexpected happens. They begin losing influence over your emotions. But staying emotionally distant isn't enough if your mind keeps replaying every negative conversation after it's over. That's where the second trick comes in. Stop creating imaginary conversations. Have you ever replayed an argument in your head for hours, thinking about what you should have said? Psychologists call this rumination, and it's one of the fastest ways to destroy inner peace. Your brain can't always tell the difference between a real conflict and one you're replaying repeatedly. Every replay keeps the stress alive. The people who seem emotionally unbreakable have learned to interrupt this mental loop before it takes over. But what if the toxic person keeps pushing your limits again and again? The third trick is setting invisible boundaries. You don't always need dramatic confrontations or long speeches. Sometimes the strongest boundary is changing what you respond to. Not every message deserves an immediate reply. Not every criticism deserves an explanation. Toxic people often test how much access they have to your time, attention, and emotions. When your responses become intentional instead of automatic, you quietly teach others how they can treat you. And that's where something surprising begins to happen. The fourth trick is refusing to personalize everything. This one changes everything. Psychology suggests that many toxic behaviors have far more to do with the other person's fears, insecurities, or frustrations than with you. That doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it helps you stop carrying emotional weight that was never yours. Suddenly, insults feel smaller, gossip loses its sting. Their negativity becomes a reflection of their mindset instead of your value. But even then, your brain still faces one hidden danger. The fifth trick is protecting your attention. Your attention is like fuel. Whatever receives it grows stronger in your mind. Spend all day focusing on toxic behavior, and your stress grows. Spend that same attention on meaningful goals, healthy relationships, or personal growth, and something remarkable happens. The toxic environment doesn't disappear, but it stops becoming the center of your life. And that leads to another unexpected shift. The sixth trick is mastering the pause. Most people react instantly when they're offended. Calm people pause. Even a few seconds gives your rational brain time to catch up with your emotional brain. That small pause often prevents words you'll regret, arguments that never needed to happen, and emotional damage that lasts for days. It's a tiny habit with enormous consequences. But there is still one final psychological trick that ties everything together. The seventh trick is building an identity that doesn't depend on other people's opinions. This is the deepest level of emotional freedom. If your confidence depends on praise, toxic people can destroy it with criticism. But when your self-worth comes from your own values, actions, and character, their words lose much of their power. You stop chasing approval. You stop fearing rejection. You become difficult to manipulate because your peace no longer belongs to anyone else. Here's the truth most people discover too late. Toxic environments don't always disappear. Sometimes they stay exactly the same. The real transformation happens inside the person who refuses to let that environment control their mind. Peace isn't the absence of difficult people. Peace is the ability to remain yourself even when surrounded by chaos. Maybe that's the greatest psychological trick of all.